Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Bert Kreischer has been on a little bit of good PR run. He appears in People's new YouTube series, Roast My Life. And he told a story about going to a, quote, very expensive dentist in Beverly Hills. Now, sometimes Bert tells a story and I'm not sure I quite believe the story. Perhaps, possibly, maybe exaggerated for comedic effect, but as the story goes, Bert was at the dentist with his daughter, Georgia. She's now 20. This story happened when Georgia was 4, and poor Georgia broke her jaw. Bert explains they had to put Georgia under anesthesia, noting, and they told me, we can't find a vein. We need you to put her under. And I was like, I'm 35 years old. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a brand new dad. I go, baby, we're going to put the gas over your face, and you're going to breathe evenly, and you're going to go to sleep. And then Georgia, 4 years old, looks up at me and goes, what if I don't wake up? And I was like, great question. I look at the doctors and I said to these dentists, I go, she dies. Do we bring the body home with us? And they're like, whoa, what are you talking about? Bert says he started panicking. I start crying uncontrollably. I go to the waiting room. I'm crying so bad. People in the waiting room are freaking out. They're watching a grown man sob. His wife, Leanne's crying. There's a kid with his dad who's like, Dad, you said it wasn't going to be that bad. Bert remembers a woman trying to soothe me and make eye contact. After 10 minutes, the dentist shows up and says Georgia was fine. Everyone celebrated with applause. Leanne's got Georgia in her lap. Georgia's got gauze. She's still asleep. I'm standing watching. All of a sudden, the door opens to that room. It's the same woman from earlier in the story. Remember that woman? And you know who it is? It's Whitney Houston. And Bert says Whitney paid for the whole thing. This is, a long time ago. Bert's not a famous comedian. She paid for the whole thing. We didn't have the money, and Whitney Houston, God rest her soul, took care of us. Cameron Esposito has a new stand-up special out today, 4 Pills, on the streaming platform Dropout. That's the former College Humor. Cameron guides the audience on a surreal journey through the ups and downs of her bipolar disorder diagnosis, with detours to talk about marriage, divinity school, and one extremely unlucky dog. Uh-oh. Cameron says when you do this job, the number one thing people say is, I don't know how you can do that job. Stand-up's my biggest fear. And I've always said, well, it's not my biggest fear. Steven Rogers' new special is out today as well. Half of We will premiere on Nate Bargatze's YouTube channel, produced by Nate and Brian Regan. The new hour sees Steven Rogers blend wit and vulnerability as he shares relatable mishaps, personal struggles, and stories from his engagement, all building to a shocking twist. Should you tell the audience there's a shocking twist coming? Can't we just... I know I just ruined it, but I'm just reading the press release. They want you to know there's a shocking twist. But I don't know, if you went to see one of those M. Night movies back in the day, now we all know the gimmick, but, when you first went to see one, do you want everyone going, hey, there's a shocking twist you're never going to believe? I don't think you want to know. I always love the phrasing in press releases. In his career so far, Rogers has opened for comedians such as Regan, Joe List, Tom Papa, Nate Bargatze, and Taylor Tomlinson. Such as is such fun wording. Kumail Nanjiani will be in the upcoming season of Poker Face. He told the story. I just got a text from Natasha Leone on a Friday. Kumail and Natasha were on one of those famous people panels, everybody's sitting at a table and the reporters ask them questions and then Vulture writes about it, something like that. Yeah. Kumail said, I just got a text from Natasha on a Friday and you were like, hey, you want to be in Poker Face on Thursday? And I was like, how long can I wait so that it doesn't seem too desperate? Kumail gave us a tease about what we could expect his character. Spoilers. He says it was this cop in the Florida Panhandle with tattoos and frosted hair, and his name was Gator Joe, and his best friend is an alligator. I was like, did you send this one to me by mistake? People don't see me and go, hey, that looks like a Florida cop. But adds, I love playing Gator Joe. I love this guy. I had to shave my arms and legs to get tattoos on, and then I just walked around with all these tattoos. People were scared of me. Poker Face Season 2 returns May 8th on Peacock. Chelsea Handler, who once dated Joe Coy, who once hosted the Golden Globes and made a joke about Taylor Swift, but we're not doing that bit today. She says if you travel with her, you better be ready to play by her rules. She said she once had to send a really severe letter to her entire extended family. Chelsea told Kimmel, I was like, listen, you have to make eye contact with every person that comes inside the house. Whether you know them, whether they're cleaning your room, whether you have anything in common, you have to make eye contact with people and say hello, thank you, and acknowledge someone is standing there. And don't leave beer bottles under the deck. Don't drink the last margaritas without filling up the pitcher. There's a lot of finishing alcohol without replenishing the alcohol because half of them are underage drinking our alcohol. This worked with her family. Chelsea said she sent the letter to friends as a template they could use on their own vacations. A couple months go by. I get the letter from someone. Someone emailed me and goes, hey, I just read this letter. This is a great letter for you to send to your family. And I'm like, it's my letter. I wrote it. That's a fun story. Dennis Leary is taking this Going Dutch sitcom very seriously, definitely much more seriously than I'm taking it. Remember this one? Dennis Leary plays Army Colonel Patrick Quinn, who gets reassigned to a base in the Netherlands. Leary said, I know we're supposed to be funny, but we're also supposed to be soldiers. We're all dressed that way. Even if we're just in the hair and makeup trailer, generally we're in our uniforms. It's a constant reminder. He got seriously into his character and explains there are certain props the audience will never see that I want my character to have with him. In this case, there was a challenge coin I wanted made that comes from my character's background back when the character was winning medals in Iraq and Afghanistan. The audience will never see it, but my character has it with him every day. Going Dutch, filmed on a real Dutch army base. Leary says there are jet planes, cargo planes, tanks, and there's real soldiers advising you. Off in the distance, they're really drilling for something. You feel really intimidated. Let's see what's happening at the comedy festivals. I guess we're starting in Moon Tower because that's the tab that I clicked first. Got all these tabs saved, and I just randomly clicked one. 7 o'clock, Mae Martin's at the Paramount. Caitlin Riley is at the State Theater with the wonderfully titled Caitlin Riley Bullies the Audience. Pauly Shore at 9:30. Guess my take there would be let's go see Caitlin Riley and then grab some drinks. In Nashville, Jim Jeffries at the Ryman at 7. Dan Cummins at Zanies Proper at 7. Jared Freed's at the Lab at 7. Pete Lee at Zanies at 9:15. Caroline Banowich, Homeschooled Freak, is at the Lab at Zanies at 9:15. 11 o'clock, Connor Larson's Big Fun Riff Show. All right, you want some recommendations from me? Got to go see Jim Jeffries. He kills. And then for middle show, I guess Pete Lee. And then let's see what this Connor Larson's thing is. The Riff Show is a show of completely improvised stand-up comedy. On the spot, in front of a live audience, comedians have to be funny with whatever comes up. Okay, that could be fun. And it's only a $16 show. And where's my Traverse City bookmark? Did I not bookmark it? We're going to have to use Google. Traverse City Comedy Festival. They've got many, many shows tonight. I'll just read you the bigger ones. 6:30, Jay Farrow. 7 o'clock, a clean comedy showcase. At 8 o'clock, a roast battle starring Kevin Johnson as your host, Brett Hayden as a judge, and Ella Horwedel as another judge. I'm not familiar with any of the comedians performing in the roast battle. Doesn't mean it's not funny. 9 o'clock, Natasha Leggero at the Park Place Hotel. And at 10 p.m., comedy karaoke. So I think out of those three, if you're making me pick, we are hanging in Nashville tonight. A lot of talk this week about Tony Hinchcliffe. Boy, whew. Well, from the barbedwire.com, we learn for a few years now, the Austin comedy scene has been dominated by a new ecosystem led by Joe Rogan and Tony Hinchcliffe. The city's now nationally known as a haven for their style of say whatever crappy thing you want. It doesn't even need a punchline comedy. For these guys and their disciples who moved here during the pandemic, the slur is the funny part. But that doesn't mean the old guard, the people who were doing stand-up before 2020, has gone away, and veteran Austin comic Duncan Carson is taking Austin back. He told the Barbed Wire, they just think anybody that laughs is an inherent good, and I'm like, not if it's a Klan rally. Carson is launching a new late-night show to showcase the city's old-school comedy scene. Signing Off, a comedy show for the end of the world, runs Fridays at 10 p.m., and today's a Friday. Carson said, I think if you count it, I've hosted the most comedy shows in the history of the city. Maybe that means I'll never get famous, but it also means I never sold my soul. Carson explains, I don't want comedy that's like preachy or always has to support social progress or something. Just don't be a monster. It's very easy to be funny without being mean. Comedy is inherently political, and I'm tired of us acting like it's not. The show's head writer, John Mendoza, told the Barbed Wire, we're just trying to do what makes us laugh most of the time. I think all of us that work on the show have always tried to punch up rather than down. But adds, Hinchcliffe is right. It only takes a minute to decide you're not a fan of somebody. And from bearworld.com, your home for comedy news, and one of those things in my browser, I'm going to have to explain to my wife, like, I got her to believe, like, I'm in the basement. The only reason I'm on OnlyFans is because they started doing stand-up comedy. Well, John, why were you on bearworld.com, which is not a site about the types of bears you might see in the zoo? No, this is a totally other kind of site. But they interviewed comedian Chris Knight, who explained his comedic influences. Chris says, being in Australia, we got to see the best of the UK and the US on our TVs growing up. I fell in love with well-written, fast-paced jokes on shows like The Simpsons and the quirkiness in shows like Dark Place. He explains how Australian crowds are different. Aussie crowds are wild. British crowds would be some of the most supportive, and Americans will cheer you so loud you'll think you're a rock star. Aussie crowds are a wild and unruly bunch. While on stage, I've been offered threesomes and drugs, but I've also had to dodge glass bottles. I think humor is universal. We all like to poke fun at ourselves and those in power, but the delivery of that humor changes country to country. Australians tend to be much rougher and use some very foul language. We're all descended from convicts, so that shouldn't be a surprise. And that is your comedy news for today. So if you want to check my browsing history, it's going to say things like New York Times, so seeing what Jason Zinnemann's up to, Bear World, OnlyFans, The Hollywood Reporter. It's a very eclectic mix. Who knows what's even going on in the basement? See you tomorrow.